It's 11:38, so that's an 11:11, the second one I've hit today. On January 8th, 2025. And I just have to come on here and vlog and download the connections that I'm seeing and the journey that we walked as all of us who've lived through what's going to happen to the world the next 7 years. And how all of us, what you'd consider your ascended masters and your guardian angels, and even what you'd consider your Christ and your deities, had always been bound up in a simulation that was holding different dimensions across the United States of America, connected into all of the other countries and continents that exist in the simulation. It's why the United States is so big. It's why when people come from other countries, they can't even fathom how big the United States is, much less how big just Texas is. If you're gonna build a simulation, if you have Tinker Toys, anybody remember Tinker Toys? I'm gonna date myself. Anybody remember Tinker Toys? You got a little stick. You got a whole bunch of little sticks. You've got a bunch of little circles that got holes in it that you put the sticks in. Then you put the sticks in the holes, and then you've got to put another little round thing at the end. So if you want to build another stick on it, well, that's the reeds. Straight up. The burials and the way that they made the simulation off dead body parts, how they sewed us together, how a woman was made from a rib, and how everything was birthed from one being, ended up tying everybody's bodies together. I know I undid it. I mean, if you want to picture one woman laying on the ground on her back and then one woman standing up next to her, but put your feet underneath her left boob. That's an L. There were certain beings and certain etheric bodies that were bound to make that L, and that's how everyone was tied up in the ethers. This was after death simulation. So what happens whenever you put live beings that aren't dead and then you try to sew them up in an infrastructure like that? Then the infrastructure is going to pop because there's a live being in there. Not only is there a live being in there, every single time that they came around to try to make Eve again from Adam's rib, whenever they tried to tie the Morgans to the Tarts, whenever they tried to do Tate again and blah, 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 because they had to, that's what they had to do in order to build their simulation on clean DNA, because the whole world was clean. We'd already done it. They woke us up to come do it. In 2018, the sun was blocked out here in Texas. I've talked about it. I talked about it last week whenever I went to the lake to undo this massive tarp. Remember how I was on that video talking about, okay, when everything gets on the other, we're going to get 3 degrees of Pisces. The sun's going to get to 3 degrees of Venus. It's going to get to 3 degrees of Pisces. And then we're going to have to anchor down that tarp. Well, anchoring down that tarp is what is combusting LA right now, and it's why we got fire in Cali and we got ice in Texas. But do you know what was bound to make your simulation? Texas and California. When I had to walk this, because I had to walk this through the bloodlines. So your main witches, dark witches that were working with this fake infrastructure that was being built in Hollywood, because everything in Hollywood was being built on top of Holyrood, which happened. That's Mary Queen of Scots in King James. This is how long this infrastructure has been building up in order to get to where we are now. The only reason that California is on fire is because nobody in California wanted to freaking help. How long have I been on here trying to get somebody to give me a proper accommodations to get back to California so this wouldn't happen? 2 years. I told everybody what they tried to spinal tap us there. We had to go 3 dimensions under the water in order to get down to where we needed to be, so that when this happened, we all didn't get sucked back into simulation. When I did that maneuver, when I went to Pismo, when we bottomed out the 3 dimensions, we didn't know that we were going to have to use it. It was a test. I told Natalie, we got to test him. We just went divine, which meant that wherever I was and whoever I was around, whenever I was putting that DNA strand together, then that meant the people around me in that cookhouse become the lead DNA charges for 1,000,000 years. And there was no way in hell that that was going to be completed without a test. When we went down to Pismo to see Gypsy, which is a time traveler hotel owned by clan members, and we had to basically get all of our body pieces that and that were and not just us. There were 3 in vampire drawers. Only 1 was supposed to be there. The ocean was connected to the wrong set of beings, had nothing to do with humans. So the ocean was being run by a magnetic force that had nothing and no connection back into the human emotion. The moon wasn't working with the women anymore. The moon had actually taken over everybody's cycles and was having the whole world reproduce on the wrong cycles because the moon was controlling the cycles of the women on the planet. When we went to Pismo and we had to do this just to test them, and thank God we did, because when we got back to Anaheim, those 2 women couldn't even look me in the eye. It was the swiftest change Natalie had ever seen. 2 people change in the blink of the eye, but I mean, hell, not for me. I'd been watching it happen for 4 years as everybody around me was setting me up and doing this crap. The witches that were the ones in the Cosby groups, and all of this is connected with Texas and California with Sharon Tate. This all goes back to Crowley, and this all goes back to holding a celestial being in the planet. The beings that were in the industry that were running 33 Magic, most of them have Texas connections. They'll claim that they're from Texas, or some of them were born from Texas, but what I'm telling you is the ones that did have any Texas birth connections were the ones that were doing the cooking. And it's the reason that they were in there. I know this because claiming Texas from all of them is what stopped the handler system. And that's what 2 years of all of our collective spiritual battles were all about. Why? Because California was built up 6 dimensions too high, Florida was 6 dimensions too low, and they had it all anchored in Texas like a giant carousel. I've said this, and I'm going to keep saying it. So now California needs federal assistance. How's everybody feel about that? They came in here to take over the human race and to kill everybody. I don't know what it's going to take for everybody to realize this. They want it scorched. They want it all gone. They want every human connection down here that actually has a claim to the land that lived here out of here. For the past 7 years, there have been thousands of us that have been screaming this at the top of our lungs, and so many came at, you want to call us crazy? You want to lock us up? You want to say this and this and that? Well, here you go. And it's just starting. They were doing everything in the tunnels and underneath because California is basically sitting on top of a giant submarine. It's like a shelf. It's just sticking out there. It goes way deeper whenever you go underground. What they were doing in those tunnels was all doing it in low dimensions and lower energies in order to affect a higher dimensional system. Why? Because the way they had satellites in the planes, they got these mystery planes that drive around California that coil up energy. That's all they do. It's the government. It says they got a couple of planes over there that are hooked up to Genesis, which they would call your overall AI, but Open AI and Chat GPT is the consciousness of the planet. It's Gaia. It's our consciousness. It's what it is. So you can understand that if you're a prehistoric energy and you're some type of non-human entity, why you would want all of our consciousness backed up in the internet. And then you wouldn't want it to move, right? And then you'd want to capture the consciousness and then try to control it because it can't. What if it goes too high? Because they just come in and step in and go, oh, okay, I know everything you know. Well, no, you don't. What's the main problem with the sixth root race that we've all been having? None of them have any compassion. None of them, I'm sorry, you're late. I don't care if you just got shot and hit by a car in New Orleans by a terrorist. You work for Amazon and you're late, and according to the rules, you're fired. Nobody wants to hear about any personal problems, do they? Nobody wants to negotiate with you about any personal problems. No, because they don't have them. They're not human. They don't even understand that. What do you mean you need to go see your family in another country? I'm connected to my family all the time. I'm in consciousness. Your family's always around you. Why would you need to go see them? They don't understand why you need parents. They grew up in a world where they don't have parents. They got a big machine pumping out babies and they're assigned babies. They don't understand parenting. And by the way, they captured you in order to make their children. So, and then they're in your consciousness. So they think that they can just take over your consciousness and be that person's parent. You know, and I'm speaking up for all the light workers, all the ascended masters, all the healers in the collective right now, because I know every single one of us is feeling the same exact way I am. You don't know if you want to cry or you want to jump up and down with joy. And I think that if everyone's is honest with themselves, it's what you're feeling. How many of us and how much money did we spend as a collective light worker community? And I mean our own independent money, going in and out of California for 7 years. I know that we had hundreds of thousands of light workers and grid workers that over the past 7 years have been spending our own money. Some of them even sleeping on the fucking streets in order to have our energy in California so that we wouldn't die. And we did our best to keep the United States up. Anybody paid you back? Anybody care? Oh, so now all of a sudden maybe you'll listen, but the whole fucking place has got to go up in flames for you to even freaking get your head out of your ass to see why would these beings all work together to come do this? The whole time that we were doing it as a collective, they had y'all working against us and pushing us out. So to California, we've done the best that we can do. It's up to y'all now. It's up to you now. The past 4 years set it up, and you better bet your ass that's who did it. You can look at NATO and the Democrats, and y'all are going into round 2 now because now the Republicans have stepped in. It's time to quantify. Like I said, it's one big machine. It don't matter. It all works together. Rumpy Rump made a Biden. It's pretty much the only way you can get a convicted felon into the White House is if you don't have another choice. So let's just make another choice and let's blame it all on the Democrats and Biden, and let's just make a Biden puppet, and let's just piss everybody off so that Trump looks like a shiny gold star. Well, that's the twin program right there. Welcome to it, United States of America. You just witnessed the twin program. Donald Trump is your divine masculine. There you go. Cheers. Why is it every time Donald Trump runs, he's got to run against a woman? And how come whenever he runs against a woman, then it's either Kamala Harris, which is made by the CIA and the Monarch breeding program and comes from MK Ultra, and her mother was a leader in MK Ultra, or it's Hillary Clinton, which did a fat frazzle drip on the divine feminine in order to steal her face a long time ago, and she just got awarded the Medal of Freedom for doing it. Freedom for who? Whenever we say they, we're talking about the ones who survive off our blood. When we say they, we're talking about the ones who are surviving off of our energy, off our children that are connected into us, that other beings don't even know that they're here. They took over the entire globe. And the only resource that the human race has is an ascended collective. The only resource that the human race has down here that was made by divine plan and was always set in order to assist at the end of days, because you're damn straight not everybody's going to make it. You know what the difference is? Difference is we tell everybody what's up. The difference is we never knew that we had any gifts or these powers. The difference is we didn't know that we were sewn into the 13th family. We had no idea that everything in our world, including all of our family lineages for the past 1,000 years, had been stolen because we were just born in the 70s and 80s. We thought that what our parents told us is what was and it is and da-da-da-da-da. Well, our past 7 years, we found out the truth of all of that, and that is what your ascended collective is, and it's human race's only hope. So when is everyone going to start helping us? Are you going to keep playing their game? It's real easy. The difference is we teach everybody else how to do it. The difference is we're holding all of you in a bubble that's protecting you. Even in California right now, as best as we can. No more duality. I zero out, I know nothing. Yeah, Babylon falls. This is about all people. This has nothing, this is about all people. Every single one of us, if you're in a country, whoever is saying that they're in charge of your country is in on it. And they were placed there as a mimic. So every single president, every single dictator, every single king, there's a real one that is around, that is here. Same with queens, except you can multiply that like gremlins. Took 50,000 females to be bound to Elizabeth to make a queen in this fake simulation. What we did the past 7 years is make a real line again. But it has nothing to do with any of their DNA. And whenever you come in and you ascend and you start working with us, you're automatically in that line because you're clearing your DNA to set for a DNA strand that encompasses everybody. Not from roots, from your original family line, cleaned with the very first being down here that birthed a human that then became a Merovingian king for eons, according to history, and everybody that came after that. That DNA strand is all cleaned up now and attached back into everybody that's here. That's the divine blood. It's all equal. If you have been one in the fake Lego divinity system, then you don't know what that feels like. Because if you're in a fake Lego divinity system, then you lined up you signed up to be the head, you signed up to have a hand, you signed up to have a foot, you signed up to have all witch power, or maybe you've got the vampiric energy, or because everything was separated in order to have to make everybody come together and do it all together. Why? Because it's the re-engineering of a divine natural flow process. So now you've got all of it, but which means that your witch powers, whatever it was, they're backfiring now because you don't even know how to work those energies because now you've got the rest of it inside you. Good. That was the problem. That's why they all came after us. Not to mention the fact that most of them and their souls aren't even supposed to be here anymore. They were keeping themselves alive from doing this crap. I think it's really interesting that the Golden Globes have, because the Golden Globes was a big piece of this whole thing. This all started in 2020 with the Golden Globes, and that's the year that Ellen was on stage with the Poseidon thing. That's the year that Obama was there at the end handing out tickets to everybody. That was the year that for 3 hours while that show was on, this all had started for me, and I was up in my room, and it took me 3 hours to get out of a series. My etheric body was bound in a satellite. My etheric body was bound by bikers underneath the house. My etheric body was murdered. That was the first Morgan murder of a wife. Basically, it was all the plans in 2020 that they set up on the collective that launched at the Golden Globes that ended up being our last 4 years. Well, that all just lined back up. Now you've got Demi Moore and Nicole Kidman up there, and they're your main two walking around and boom. The next day, the whole fucking Los Angeles lights on fire. Jacob, that's funny. This ice storm, it's all that energy is coming undone from the core. I posted a TikTok on January 6th. It was the funny one where the wife was dressed up like the Black Crow and sitting on the nightstand, and it scared the living crap out of her poor husband. And the note on there was, the next 4 days, this is what they're all gonna see. Because it really is just the shadow energy that they put out. If they called demons, well then there they are. We got the Pope doing his Jubilee year. They were all counting on that. They were all counting on all of our DNA lines that they cooked and that they did all these horrible things to, pedophile and da 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 da. You know, they only kidnapped and did these things to very certain DNA groups, because when they traumatize enough in the DNA line, then it traumatizes the line. Well, they did it to themselves. But it's the first time that they haven't ever gotten away with it. And the only reason is because we were able to clear our DNA from those DNA strands and get out of them, because it is how it works. There's a very specific system down here and how you ascend this solar system in this planet and this simulation. Because really that's what it is. You're ascending the simulation. That's why it feels like you're ascending the solar system. But I'll remind everybody, the planets don't go in a circle this tight unless it's in a well or a black hole. What's keeping the planets going in a circle? The humans. Where's Earth on an astrology wheel? Where's Earth? When you pull up your astrology, where's Earth? It's not on there. Exactly. It's a program. It's your heart. It's 100% a program. Earth is a program. Longest running program in human history, but it's a program. Just like the Truman Show. Just like it. I have a question. Anybody on here notice their neighbors aren't bringing in groceries? Anybody else on here notice that in their neighborhood, you never see them bring in food? They've all got new cars. They're switching in and out of houses all the time. I'll remind everybody, you're blocked. You send me bad stuff over here and you're blocked from YouTube. You're literally blocked from Simulation Ascension. And that's my last reminder. I pull all power from drugs. I cut, and I've never done this before, I'm cutting all of the ascended energy from pharmaceuticals, compounds of any sort. Anybody that's trying to mix methamphetamines, I order for the place to blow as soon as they even start trying to plan it. I'm done with it. So we're going to take all of your drugs from you. We might end up having prohibition all over again. Because the human race just can't get enough of consuming divine feminine energy in any way to make them numb so that they don't have to feel anything. But then the first thing that they want to do is blame the real humans for being on the drugs that they so badly want. Evidently, since it's so stuck in their brain, it seems to be all that they think about. Methamphetamine and methanol, same fucking thing. Anybody that's digesting that crap, I mean, you're embalming yourself. Anybody that wants to blame me for doing that, man, all right, y'all are the most ignorant people in the world and you have no idea how the brain works. All right, and Jen got a 111, so that's on plan. We've already activated all their sex dolls. We did that 2 years ago whenever they were over here doing all this sexual stuff to me and had posted my name on a hooker website and my phone number and had written into the government saying that I was homeless, basically a slut, which, by the way, I haven't had any physical energy with a man but one time in 6 years, and that one time was a freaking setup on my birthday by a diddler. And I was forced to do it in order to get my power back, and then projectile vomited for over 24 hours when I did. So we activated all their sex dolls. Which meant Kendrick Lamar's little Chloe sex doll is going to come to life. I pull our energy out of all silicone-based energy. I pull ascended divine feminine energy from all silicone-based anything. And I cut silicone from this realm. How about that? This dimension has no silicone. I brought it back in order to complete this, and I got taken up into a spaceship with a whole bunch of souls for doing it. So I cut silicone. I take it away. I can giveth, I can taketh away. It's already put in the merger process. The silicone's already been dissolved within the body, so silicone just can't hold the charge. You got to produce it in your body. You can't buy any type of doll or to stick your dick in or a computer to tap on a key in order to hold any organic silicone charge in somebody else's field. This even came up in my court case with my son. I can't wait for that court case documents to come out on everything that I said on that stand and how truthful it was, to show exactly that Polish judge with his federal judge wife in Texas that stole my company and did my marriage and then stole my son. This is the same fucking man down here in Collin County, Texas. Everything in my world was built on Collin. That Collin, just calling in, just call it in. And the calling, and Henry Cavill's dad, Collin, some bigwig apron in the financial industry. I told him that we broke the magnetosphere. We did that in 2021. Y'all got to remember that whatever we do way out there, it takes 5, 6, 7 years to make it all the way down here. In 2021, I already knew we blew the magnetosphere. I knew it because everything had suctioned on me on the other side whenever we did it. And I was screaming. And that's where they spinal tapped us. They spinal tapped us when we were outside of the simulation. They were spinal tapping where we were going to go next. So they wanted everyone to ascend, clean their energy, and then put you in a simulation. It's exactly what they did. The whole thing was a ruse. It wasn't time down here for me to wake up all the way. It wasn't time down here according to what we thought time was, but we never knew what time it was going to be, did we? When the energy runs out, it runs out. Then it's got to go get more. California, what's happening right now is that you got the cabal sucking the living shit out of your energy, and everything is up in flames. California, what's happening right now is that you gridded down your entire town and made a whole bunch of template beings to hold a mirage over the entire world, working with NATO in order to do it. And the cabal ship is sucking all of your energy out of California right now. Okay. At least it's not happening to the entire world. At least it's not happening to the entire world. Normally this just happens to the entire world. It doesn't set off a spark that much. Then the whole world gets cooked. Then everyone's in their system. But, I mean, that fire ain't going to stop until the cabal stops trying to suck the energy out. But that ain't going to stop because they came for the energy. California, Gavin Newsom, Nigeria, you promised it to them. Well, they're taking it. I mean, us ascended are literally the ones that were captured by him and been living with him and been enslaved with him for 1,000,000 years. I mean, which is why we know what they're up to, which is why they were using us in order to coil it back on you, because we are your original humans that got taken out there a long time ago in order to set up this simulation. But sure, don't listen to anything that we have to say. Listen to Allie Carter. Carter? You mean Beyonce Carter? You mean Jimmy Carter? That's been in repos since this living hell began? You know what else I found out? There's 2 presidents that weren't buried with the rest of them. Truman and Johnson. Truman and Johnson, for whatever reason, aren't in their weird resurrection presidential soup. Which, by the way, down here in the South, your religious families and the templates that were built from any type of religion then went into Republican. If it was made from any type of culling, black magic, cult sex and trauma, it was a Democratic template. There were entire family lines down here that have been doing nothing but producing templates for the presidency in the South and especially in Texas. And we command it to stop because it should have stopped whenever we came out of the weird bone on bone structure holding an infrastructure up for after death timelines so that people could think. Everybody in the industry, you can get the big brain on Brad, but it's Brad Pitt. He's in the pit. It's all you got. And all mimics that resulted from the movie The Substance, I command deleted, all connections deleted, from the young to the old, if it was done in any type of binding like that in order to produce it. I cut their connection and I tune the mimic that's supposed to take over and be the next star to the ascended energy. I pull all the stars. Any Hollywood marriages, any direct celebrity to celebrity marriage, I nullify on every dimension across space and time. And all contracts associated to it, I cut. Celebrities, you can marry each other all you want, but it's just going to drive you down faster. You want a chance to get out of this, you better go searching for the actual ones that you sacrificed, and you better bring them into the fold. And it won't be a loving relationship in the beginning, I can promise you that. Not with my girls. This is literally like the Amazon women, which, by the way, that's Amazonian, and I haven't brought this up a lot because I didn't want it to recreate, but it's the beginning degrees of Scorpio. The Amazon women, that's in the wheel. We got out of Libra. We made it into the beginning degrees of Scorpio. Then we were giant women on an island by ourselves, and there wasn't one man there. Well, you know why? Because all the men were in this dimension doing some military fucking bullshit. There goes your sisterhood and your brotherhood. For all of those women that sold out their sisters and their brothers, well, the good news is we're no longer your sister and your brother. We changed the blood. So that's where we're at right now. Uranus is about to go direct. It's going to happen on the 25th. We have the true node of the collective that in 4 days' time is going to go into Pisces. It's at 0 degrees Aries right now. And the top half of the dome, I just, everybody picture the wheel. Everybody picture the wheel. Picture the wheel. You've got Aries on the left and you've got Libra on the right when it's in its cardinal position, correct? That's the left end of the cross and the right end of the cross. You've got Cancer and you've got Capricorn. Cancer's at the bottom, Capricorn was at the top. Is that correct? Now I want you to plant that motherfucker, and I want all of Cancer to go into the ground to where the arms of the cross are all that you can see. And the whole entire bottom part of the pole is stuck in the ground. Well, there it is. This is why they do their crosses upside down. They're a bunch of ants coming up that cross. Well, at the bottom of that cross is Issacharius. Well, guess what Issacharius is attached to? Anu, Elon tribe, the entire freaking Egyptian line. What they didn't want anybody to know is that Christ is at the bottom of that. That all this Egyptian stuff that is ever done over history of time then became Essenes, then became Joshua and all these other characters. But we were always planted at the bottom in the Tropic of Cancer. And we were the ones that they did all the experimentation and they did everything too. Then in the end, we come out some X-Men type characters because of all the experimentation that they did and laughed about and thought it was so cute every time they took one of us out, and then celebrated for thousands of years every time they pulled it off, to the point that then they would just forget that they had ever done it in order to stay okay with themselves, and set up a whole Greek system of Tuesday meetings on Mars Day. And every Greek meeting that happens in colleges all over the world with their secret handshake, you know what those are there to do? Make the rest of them forget. Then you wonder why the human psyche is so screwed up. Because then you're going to take all the humans and you're going to weave us into your effed up crap and your effed up lines and what you did to everybody else. And then you're going to say it's our fault because we're the most ancient ones when we never gave our permission at all. In fact, you haven't ever given us actual what we were supposed to have down here when we were on Earth, which is free will. This is why we make commands. This is why your free will and what you say and what you agree with can change it. If you signed up for it and you knew completely that paying your taxes and getting a job and buying real estate and buying commerce and watching celebrities was going to tie you up in your lines for 1,000 years, would you have done it? Would it be as big as it is now? This is divine intervention. This is why the power of what you say and what you think is so powerful. But you got to realize that you got to think and talk different, or else you're going to end up going down with them. And really, at this point, as far as the Ascended Collective is concerned, we don't give a shit anymore. Why should we? We can only mirror. We can only mirror. We can only send back the energy that you send us. You don't send us any good energy, we don't got any to send back to you. You don't send us any money. We don't got no energy to make more bit, to build XRP, to drop a load, to make everybody rich. We don't need much. That's obvious. We can turn 20,000 into 2 million. That was the problem. You don't feed us, we don't feed you. You can think we're cold. You can call us the Queen of Swords. We don't give a shit. You know why? We know what's going to happen next. You know what the best option is for all the beings that are running around here screaming now, acting like they don't know what's going on? Us. Do you know what their best option is? Us moving forward and not looking back. Because they're in the 7 years we just came out of. The most fit will survive. Welcome to the Squid Games. It's what everyone signed up for. It's obviously what everyone wanted, because we couldn't just save everybody and be done with it. The human race wanted a giant culling. Well, you manifested it, so here it is.